Welcome, Warriors. Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2, the Great 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well today. So getting a little warmer again in the Midwest. Finishing up a bunch of different final exams and the next couple weeks, final exam weeks and things like that. So it's kind of hectic, but I wanted to kind of do a video to see how everybody's doing. I get a lot of great feedback, so thank you for that, a great deal. A lot of great comments, a lot of great subscriptions and likes and things like that, and I greatly appreciate that. It gives me a lot of information and questions to kind of dwell on. I haven't gotten back to the last set of like last week or so of comments. I will do that and organize that over the weekend and try to get that kind of set up so we can move ahead with all those and kind of try to get some discussions going on some other great topics as well. So there was a couple that I've had back in the back burner, and I wanted to kind of focus on them as well today. And I kind of, maybe what I'll do is bring out this as a group of ideas. The idea, guys, we're going to talk about here is that this is really a lifestyle. Yes, you can count the days and do all that kind of stuff. I only do that because I want to kind of, for the videos, kind of have some sort of idea and record. So as I'm talking, as time goes on, things change and my perspective is different. And the things that I'm talking about at 715 or 13 days as compared to 1,000 days. So it's almost kind of like a record for me to kind of see kind of how I've changed to the period of time. Also, maybe it's because this is the first long streak I've ever had like this, and so it's kind of nice to just kind of have it somewhere. But the main thing that I kind of want to do is, I mean, I've had 45 years of this. I really kind of want to help you guys and people that I know are struggling with some of the same ideas and problems that I've dealt with all these years. And so I want to kind of share those experiences, and that's kind of why I keep track. But I think, as one of our great viewers is talking about, it really is a lifestyle change. As long as you know it's a lifestyle change, you know you're going to go ahead and have ups and downs. But the thing is, you have to recognize it, saying, okay, this is the way my life is going to be. Now, one of the things that I guess in the back of my mind too, the reason that I do I keep the count going, is mainly because as I go longer now, it takes a heck of a lot for me to even think about breaking it. Because I can always go back and say, look, I don't want to break this record now. This is getting unbelievable to me, as far as I'm concerned. And so I want to continue doing that, and that's why I want to keep on this record. So that's why I kind of do it. I think I will continue doing it for a while, and then we'll kind of see, where it goes. Hopefully I can get pretty close to my goal, and it's going to take many years, but we'll get there. And we'll take it one day at a time and continue to battle on, as all of you guys are doing as well, and seeing how things go. But this whole idea of a lifestyle is really, really important, because as you're talking about this in your mind, as you're thinking about this, your whole life pattern of how you do things change. And I always go back to the quotes that I studied years ago from Aristotle and Socrates and a lot of the great philosophers that we've talked about, Confucius. They all point to one direction. And you've seen this before in shows like The Secret and the book of The Secret of the Ages. All these things kind of go back to one concept. And because we don't know a lot about this concept, it's kind of a foreign type of thing for a lot of people, but it's something that's really very important when it comes to understanding you. And I heard someone the other day talk about how we don't know about ourselves. We're in this body, we're in this type of life, but it's like we don't have an owner's manual. We don't follow it. We have no idea who we are. And the one thing I'm talking about is the brain. When you talk about the brain, we only know very little about the brain. We use maybe about 10% of the brain. We don't use a lot of it. And as a result of that, we don't really know that much about it. The one concept that I talk about that is really important that I'm kind of mentioning here is the fact that throughout the history of the world, there's always been the idea is that you become what you think about most. I am what I am, right? Whether I'm right or wrong, that's me. Whether I believe this or that, I'm right. It all goes back down to the manifestation of the words you're using to describe your life. And I think that this is a key component in how you approach this whole journey you're taking. For example, you could, take 5 steps on your journey and give up. You could start your journey and all of a sudden you see a pretty girl and all of a sudden now you stop again. Now you have to start again. Now, part of the reason that it took me 45 years is because I just refused to give up, and I did not want to give up to this idea, this temptation over time. Yes, I did give up, of course, little bits of time here and there, and I wanted to start a long streak, but I had refused to kind of give up totally. And I was very blessed when I was younger to understand that your heart, and I call it heart, and the dedication, your heart, all those things make a difference with how you perceive things. Your persistence, your dedication, your enthusiasm, all those things come from within, and they come from really your mindset. And so what you got to really do is kind of realize that you become what you think most. And the idea is that you can stop this temptation by your thinking. Now, there's some things you can't control. But once again, you can control the reaction to those things. You can't control the birds flying around your head, but you can control whether or not you're going to let them nest in your head. What you've got to do is you've got to be able to kind of move past the idea of this temptation back onto your goals, back onto the things that you want to achieve. And that's a crucial part of this whole thought pattern we're talking about. This is why that secret of the ages that we've been mentioning, how important your mind directs your body, is crucial, because you can control part of what you're seeing here. If you go ahead and say, okay, I see this picture, I see this person, but I'm not going to respond to that person, I'm not going to respond, I'm going to move to a different thing. I acknowledge it, I understand that there's a danger here, but I'm learning how to do this. And it does form a habit, of course, but as habits go on, you're able to use those more and continue to focus more on strengthening those habits within you. So the thing that we're looking at here, as all these great philosophers talked about, is the idea that you really have more control than you think you do. I know it feels like when you're in this bad habit, because I've been there, that you have no control at all. It seems like you have no control, there's nothing you can do, this is the way life is, I just have to kind of live with it. And I've been through those times. I think depression, anxiety, all those things play a big factor. And of course, if you're releasing, you're not as strong as you should be, and so yes, you are losing energy, you're losing those nutrients, you become more anxious, you become less confident, you become much harder to fight these battles. This is why this becomes a two-edged sword, because in many ways you have to stop releasing to become stronger in your push away from temptation. But you got to start somewhere. And almost like any kind of addiction, you got to start sometimes day by day by day. And that's what I had to do. Take it day by day. Now I'm up to 713 days, which is why I concentrate so much on these days, because I'm still in that day mode. Now I have had a lot of success pushing away, because as time goes on, you build a habit. And the habit I'm building now is of non-temptation, but it takes a great deal of time. And you have to have that will to want to change. So we go back to the statement some of my excellent viewers have mentioned, and it really goes back to that this becomes a lifestyle. And if you accept it as a lifestyle and you have the will to change your lifestyle and you want to continue to be successful and excellent every day of your life, you're going to go ahead and use this idea to say, okay, I'm going to achieve my goals. I'm going to focus on the things that are really important. I'm not going to waste my time and my energy on this other stuff, and we'll take it one day at a time. And before long, now you're building a habit, and now you're moving ahead. And I think that's kind of where it starts. But down deep, you have to believe that you really want to go ahead and make this change. That's something that I had to come to grips with and really sit and realize. And actually, in my case, it was a case of I was 57 years old. I wasn't exactly sure how long I was going to live. And I wanted to get closer to the Lord Jesus Christ and God. And I wanted to say, okay, how do I do that? Well, I had read many, many books over the years and many ideas. Malcolm X, for instance, Martin Luther King, a lot of people, Gandhi, a lot of great philosophers, Socrates, Aristotle, a lot of these people. And it came back down to, and went back to the Kendler's book on the Fountain of Youth. And I realized that a lot of things go back down to the fact that you have to retain your energy, and that it is energy. I think this is the other aspect that a lot of people don't think about when they're looking at things. And I think, once again, there's a number of videos on this, and I'll probably do a separate video on this at some point. But you are a body. But when your body goes, your body will just, something will leave your body. And I've seen this actually happen with people that have passed away. And you can call it I call it spirit, call it energy, spirit, all those type of things. All of a sudden, or your soul, all those done, something leaves your body, and you can see that. You can see that with people. But the question then becomes is what happens, and we know by physics that matter cannot be destroyed, or it's transferred, it's not destroyed. So the idea is that you cannot just go ahead and destroy matter. So yes, people's physical body will eventually deteriorate, almost like water evaporates, but it doesn't disappear, it just evaporates into a gas. In this case, our body evaporates into the earth and those type of things. But the soul, the energy within you rises. And this is where I'm talking about that you're giving up nutrients of that soul, that body you have. And once you do that, then all of a sudden you're weakened. And from a physical standpoint, you're definitely weakened, but also from a soul standpoint, you're weakened, because every time you do those things, you know you shouldn't be doing those things, and that goes back to hurt you. It comes back to hurt you in many different ways within your life, your relationship with God, and God being able to trust you and to be able to give that great body to you, not to use it in destructive ways towards other people or towards yourself, and to be able to focus on the good things in life and trying to move through His purpose. And if you're with His purpose, then the chances are you're not going to get involved in a lot of these little behaviors. Yes, once again, the birds will be flying around you. I mean, women flying around me all the time. The question then becomes, but how do I react to it? And that's one thing you do have some level of control with. You can't control how you react to it. And so, therefore, you have to put yourself in positions that you're not going to become tempted. That's why you go to church. That's why you go to work. That's why you stay away from late night types of, rendezvous and, at the bars and all these other kind of things. You stay away from these things because potentially those are places that you have temptation. And so if you avoid those type of things and go to places like church, and you go to places like work, and you stay at home, you work on your house, you work on different goals, you're not going to have as much potential for temptation. Yes, Satan will find you, of course. I believe that the evil one always has his minions out there that are looking at trying to tempt you. And so it doesn't matter if somebody's walking down the street or they come and talk to you, or they find it a challenge because they know that you're not going to succumb to them and be a succubus for them. But you can stand on your own 2 feet and say, I'm going to say no. Get away from me. Flee from me, vampire. Flee from me, vampire. And this is the whole idea. So the thing is that you want to know that these things are out there. Evil is out there. I think this is one of the things we have in our society now that people aren't aware of. I think a lot of times people get brainwashed because they don't understand that there is evil. And I think I may probably do an extra video on this one. I mean, there is evil. People are evil. I think that this whole notion that we see most of the time in the books and the movies and things like that the devil is this fictitious type of character. Well, I believe there's a good energy and a negative energy, and a good soul and a negative soul. And I think there's people who really have evil intentions. Now, what are evil intentions? Well, intentions that go against you, that they're getting some advantage by doing something to you. And certainly I think this whole idea of zapping your energy, emotionally or physically, is something people do. Now, can they recognize that? I don't know necessarily. I mean, I think sometimes they don't recognize it. But I also think that there's times where those people, they do know what they're doing sometimes. And I think it becomes an issue of they're not wanting to control it. That's the way they want to be. Or they feel some level of excitement. Or they're just not aware. I mean, there are people who just don't have that level of awareness about themselves, about God. They don't believe in God. And so they do a lot of these behaviors in which, they're only out for themselves. Now, are there a total evil person out there? No. There's people who are really highly evil, but not to the point where they're doing it. They're necessarily doing it. Something is motivating them to do it. I don't think any person by nature, even when we go back to stories of Cain and Abel, is not necessarily that that one was evil and one was good. Yes, one went away from God and murdered his brother. Yes, but the thing is that when you look at these type of things, all people have potential for good and they have potential for evil. So we have to empathize and forgive people at some level, especially for the smaller things they do. But the idea that everybody is evil, I don't buy that one. What I buy is that people get caught up into evil behaviors, and this is where the evil one can use people to do things that maybe they think are right, but are only self-serving. They're not good for other people, and they hurt a lot of people. Now, when you get to the point of actually, destroying people and things like that, well, that's an exaggeration of the same idea. But people get this idea, and they become desensitized to this emotional aspect of it. And in fact, this is when they become soulless. They don't recognize that it's important to have some level of consciousness to understand that if you do something, you're basically going to have issues with it, and you're going to take the consequences, and your conscience is going to take consequences of it too. So, all right, my friend. Well, enough for today. Hope you guys are going to have a great day. This is May 19th, 2022, and we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, battle on. God bless you guys.